exam. And then if you scroll down, everything that is blue dot is what is possible for the AP exam. So if you notice on the far right, that would be a possible topic for the AP exam DBQ. So make sure you're looking for blue dots. Some already started things a long time ago. Some of them started brand new. But I just wanted to make sure that you're aware of that. Any questions about this stuff at all? Okay. This is all, by the way, on demand if you don't want to watch it live. But these are all from the AP College Board of what they are expecting you to be able to learn and review about. And this will make a lot more sense on Friday because we're actually going to do an activity with these review sessions. But these are 45-minute long review. I would never watch it live because the reviews for AP US are at 8 a.m. So if you're really passionate about waking up at 8 a.m., which I'm not, but you can always watch them on demand and it doesn't make any difference between the two different ones. Okay. Thank you for having subscribers. I've had a lot of comments on my videos lately. It makes me feel really good. Another thing really quickly as well, I sent this out about your email settings. I don't know if you guys got an email today or if I, as teachers, just got it. But I just wanted to clarify really, really quickly. So we did find out that Granite School District did block College Board emails coming to your Granite SD account. It's not like they purposely did that, but apparently they blocked the account because it was deemed as spam. I think that was Pervy. Did you have a question? Somebody raised their hand.
Yeah, so I didn't get any emails, and like, I saw that my Gmail was blocking like a lot of like their emails that my teachers were like trying to send to me.
Yeah.
What do we like do for that?
So you can, so on Gmail, you can add emails in, and there's a list that says like make sure to allow this email, and if you add it to your accepted list, it'll allow you to have all of them. Because teachers are the same way. There's teachers that are having the College Board is being marked as spam. So one thing is that they did supposedly unblock Granite SD. So in theory, you'll receive another email in the next week that will hopefully go through. But if you're not getting the emails, the next round I hear about an email going out, if you don't get the email, we need to address it ASAP because you cannot access the AP exam unless you have access to that email. Because they'll be sending you a code and you have to click the link in the email to access your AP exam. So just warning you, make sure that you're getting the emails because if not, you're not going to be able to take the AP exam. So next time, and I sent this out as well of how to confirm your email. Just make sure that you do that. And then next round, if you still aren't getting it, then we have to go in and look at it individually. Ethan, I'll answer your question in a second. Any other questions really quick before we start other stuff?
This way?
Yeah.
So like, so the lecture is gonna be on every week's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, rather than like A-day, B-day.
That is my understanding. Is that it's consistent for every week.
Oh. Okay.
That's what I've been told, and all the teachers are supposed to be following it. So, but this is something brand new that they just premiered on Monday. So I'm just trying my best. I have no idea.
Okay.
Yes. Well, okay. Girl first, and then guy.
Okay. Yeah. So, I have my like College Board account just because like I'm graduating next year.
Oh, this is Mary. Okay.
It's attached to a different, like not my Granite SD email. It's just like my regular email.
That would be fine. Yeah.
So like it's okay if I'm getting them through there and not Granite SD.
Yeah, my AP stuff all goes to my personal account. None of it goes to my school account.
I'll still be able to take the test and stuff?
Yeah, if anything, I would always have it as your personal account because when you graduate from Skyline, your Granite SD account is deactivated and you'll have no access to that email. So if it were me, I would always have it because then you can access your SAT scores at any time and your AP scores. Yeah. Who was the guy?
I was just about to ask, is this one of the review sessions? Because it's like April 15th? Or...
No.
Is the review section next time?
No. This is going over DBQ stuff.
Okay.
This is just AP Classroom. Yes. So this is you access AP Classroom. It's whatever one goes to there. Is it okay if the AP test is not connected to the school account will cause problems? No. It's whatever email you want. In fact, most schools are saying to have it as your personal email because you're more likely to get the emails instead of the school blocking them. So there's no issue whatsoever with whatever email you could have. You could have like coolcat76 and at gmail.com and it'll still go through. Okay, cool. So again, we're on a time crunch for AP Psych, so we have to kind of get started just a little bit. So really quickly, I'm going to go over a couple of different things that are kind of going on over the next couple of weeks. So fun fact, today is exactly 1 month away from the AP exam. The AP exam is on May 15th, and we are officially exactly 1 month away. Yay! So that means that we are kind of getting down to crunch mode. So let me kind of explain how the next couple of weeks are going to work for you guys, and just give you a little bit of an overview of what you can expect. Oh, that did not work out how I thought it would. Expand this. Okay, great. So this is this week. So all of third period, so 3B, 4B, 3/4 of 1B, and excluding 2A, all of your DBQs have, so about 80 out of the 140 have all been graded. So if you're in 3B and 4B, you can already go and access that. About, again, 3/4 of 1B. 2A is always graded first, so I decided to grade them last this time. All of that will be done by the end of today, but you can go and look over that, and I will talk about DBQs in just a moment. Tomorrow, so these final, because of this new schedule, there's no way I can live lecture period 8 or period 9 and finish it. So what I'm going to do is those lectures I had talked about before, what I will do is I will put those online tomorrow. It'll probably be about an hour to an hour and a half. And then I'm expanding the final to be due next Tuesday to allow you time to be able to watch that. Friday's lecture should be relatively short to make up for that because we're just going over your assignments for the next 2 weeks, okay? And this will make more sense when I send out an announcement tomorrow, so don't stress out about this too much. But again, with the new schedule, we're only able to talk with you guys 50 minutes in a lecture period, so it just makes a lot more sense to do that. Yes, the final is a DBQ, and it's timed. I'm going to give you a little bit of extra time compared to the AP exam, but it'll be a DBQ and it'll be a timed DBQ, but it'll be rewritable for up to 100% credit. So you can rewrite those as well. Friday, we're going to go over the next 2 weeks, which I'm going to give you a very brief overview about that today. And then don't forget the not so typical or the board game assignment, and the period 1 pager is finally going to be due on Friday. The DBQ is rewritable. All of the essays are rewritable. Okay. So I want to explain really quickly. We'll be split up in the same format as the other quizzes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have it in four sections. So first section will be HC and thesis, and I will have it on there. This is how you do it. So kind of like a pre-write that it'll be there so you have access to it. Then I'll have your body paragraphs, your complexity, and then rewriting your thesis at the end. So hopefully it's what we call scaffolding, which is basically breaking it up so that you know, okay, now I'm supposed to be doing this, now I'm supposed to be doing this. We'll see how it works out. This is kind of a bit new for all of us, so we'll kind of see a little bit how it works out. Okay, so let me explain how the next 2 weeks, do you think it's worth to watch all the 8-pitch videos? Mingjing, I'm actually going to address that on Friday because we will talk about that exact thing on Friday. Will all 5 docs be out there in links? Probably I'm going to make them as a Word file embedded into the, or a PDF file embedded into the quiz, and then you just press the little magnifying glass, and then it makes it really big. Will there be time to read on the AP exam? They took away that time. So you will want to pre-write in 10 minutes would be the best guess. We're going to practice the timing though over the next couple of weeks. Okay. So starting, and it says Thursday, but it's really Friday since we got moved. So we are going to be going on a little bit of a hiatus from normal lecture times. So basically what I've split up is in the next month, so for 4 weeks, 2 of those weeks are going to be reviewing content, and 2 of those weeks are going to be practicing for the AP exam. So let me kind of explain how it's going to work. So starting this Friday, and I will go over what the assignments look like and things like that. So everything that you're seeing that is in this orangey color are optional, okay? So you're going to have 3 assignments that are going to be assigned on Friday that are due Friday, May 1st. So you have 2 weeks to do these assignments. The DBQ exam, like I said before, is going to be this Tuesday, and the DBQ read writes are due on Tuesday, but everything else that you do for the next 2 weeks is assignments. The check-in assignments is basically, it's a really simple assignment where I say, where are you at on your assignments that are due on May 1st? So what that's going to allow me to do is make sure that you're not pushing everything to Friday, May 1st. It's making sure that you're actually working on this stuff. Because if I go into these check-in assignments and it basically shows me that you're not doing anything, that's when I start bugging you and saying, hey, you're pushing this all to the end, and that'll be a really poor decision. So this is literally something that's like, what are you working on? Or what have you done? What do you need to complete? That's all this is. Very, 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 very simple. And yes, they are mailing all progress reports. And that's because right now we have 100 students that have never done anything since we've been gone. So we're trying to mail things out since they're not answering. But anyways, I did want to add one thing though. So on these regular days, so these period reviews at 12:15, these are optional. So if you would like to do, it's going to be really quick, about 30 minutes reviewing for these various pre-writes, or not pre-writes, excuse me, these various periods. So if you're like, I really don't know period 6, you can join at 12:15 if you want to review it, but you are not required to. So all of these lecture times, for the next 2 weeks are all completely optional. Okay. Will I record them? Yes, but they'll be a lot more difficult to practice because of the way I'm going to be running them. So they will be recorded. They'll just be a little bit more difficult to be able to do. Yes, this is the Imperialism DBQ, is this rewrite right here. Okay. So really quick on a review about the review assignments. So we'll talk about these assignments a lot more on Friday because I'll be able to give them to you. The Middle East lecture might not be on Canvas, but it's definitely already been on YouTube. It's been on YouTube since last Thursday or whenever we last had lecture. So if it's not on Canvas, it's definitely on YouTube because I already have like 100 views or something like that. Don't forget about these binders. Like I talked to you about this before. The assignments we're going to do over the next 2 weeks are going to be prepping that binder. So make sure you have those ready to go. And then I'll send out another announcement if you need help. We had about 30 binders and tabs donated. So if you need one of those because you have an actual need, please let me know. And then I'll also send something out about printing once I figure out how many things I need to print and different things like that. So next 2 weeks. So if it were me, I would definitely have A through Z tabs. And you will see why when we put the binder together. Because I would not do digital. I would definitely not rely on digital because you are going to, I mean, that's up to you. That's on you if you want to make it digital. But the reason I would not is because you want a quick access guide on the AP exam. And if you're already using your bandwidth to take the AP exam, searching through a digital binder is not going to be the best. That's what I would do. And we will have a lecture. We will organize the binder in class, and I will show you how it's put together. Okay? Can you make a big Google Doc? Again, I would not do that. I will not be encouraging you to make a Google Doc with all the terms because, and again, we are going to be talking about how to put it because the hugest issue is you want to use it. So it's really similar to how Gunnar's talking about. I mean, again, if you want to go create a Google Doc, that's on you. I think it is a horrible idea. It is an absolutely horrible idea to rely on a digital Google Doc. And the reason why is think about how many terms are in so many different things. If everybody has the same Google Doc, you're going to crash that Google Doc. Additionally, what if somebody decides to be a you-know-what and decides to totally mess up the entire document, deletes the whole thing right before you're about to start it? What happens if you have somebody that goes in there and makes everything white so you can't see it and you can't figure it out and you're stressing out? Again, you do what you do. I think a horrible, horrible decision would be to use it online on bandwidth. Because again, the AP exam has said that if you have any technical glitches, that's your one shot. And if, I mean, I'm not going to argue anymore. I think it's a bad decision. But you guys can do what you want to do. That's on you. But I will show you later how I would put the binder together, but I would not do anything digitally when bandwidth is already a problem and you're already concerned about, I would be concerned about AP Classroom crashing. So if it were me, I would not do anything digital in terms of notes, but that's just me. We will talk about it later, and then you guys I can't control you. So you can do whatever you want. But think about how many times that we've been Zooming like this on the bandwidth, and we've had technical glitches, just remember your AP exam doesn't change. So that would just be me. So then in our last 2 weeks, so the 2 weeks before the AP exam, so AP exams right here on Friday the 15th, we do have some optional review sessions to be determined, because again, these are not on my lecture days. I don't really know. It's just be if you want to come, you want to come. Monday, we will put all of our binders and get them all ready to go. And then we'll be working on skills, practice DBQs, and different things like that. Somebody said on here, what if your Wi-Fi quits? So if your Wi-Fi quits, then you are possibly eligible for the makeup exam in June. But then if it quits again, you are not eligible for the AP exam. What if the entire system crashes once everybody is trying to get on? The good news is we are on the 5th day of the exams. So if everything's going to crash, it would be on your Monday, May 11th exams. So those are the exams that I would be worried about is Monday, May 11th. If it were me, especially if you have the 8 a.m. exam time. But that's what I'd be worried about. But they do have an optional exam for the 2nd. Again, I think all of us are kind of just like trying to figure things out. So hopefully, you know, it'll be the way it is. Anyways, so we'll have a lecture review, skills-based reviews on these days. And then if you want to attend an optional review, which is going to be to be a determined time, you can. But this is because normally in the last 2 weeks, I have students want to constantly review. And so that would be a good time to be able to do it. And I always just open it up in case you want to. Anybody have any questions about the schedule? What are we doing about ACT testing this year? ACT is canceled. What they are doing is if a junior would like, they are going to pay for you to take the regular ACT once ACT reopens, which doesn't look like it'll be until maybe August through October for the ACT. So they will pay for you to be able to take it. It's called a voucher program. But I will tell you that several colleges are waiving the ACT SAT requirement. I don't know if that'll be next year as well. But I will tell you that 4th quarter ends on the end of the school year, which is on May 22nd, I believe it is. If you do a Zoom meeting among yourselves, no, you can do a Zoom meeting and review for the AP exam. I don't mind that at all. So it's I believe the 22nd is the last day of the school year. Correct? Yeah, May 22nd. So school year ends on May 22nd. Midterms are this Friday. So just be aware of that. Okay, any other questions before I move on? All right, great. So what is this class doing after the AP exam? Well, we only have like 2 days left because the last day of school is on that Friday. And several of you guys still have AP exams that entire next week. The last day of school, you guys have AP exams. I have an idea of what we're going to do, but it's not going to be anything rigorous whatsoever. We're going to talk about the DBQ in just a second. So I will say that there have been teachers that have been getting in trouble for doing Zoom movies. But I did hear that Netflix has a party app that you can all watch each other. Okay, so that is an overview of the next couple of weeks and kind of an overview of assignments and different things like that. Oh, somebody did mention earlier, what is College Board doing if people don't have Wi-Fi? I did hear that you could submit and that they would pay for your Wi-Fi, but then I also heard that everybody who submitted something has heard nothing from College Board. So in theory, they said that they purchased, I think it was 20,000 computers to give out to people, as well as free Wi-Fi. And then I've heard nobody's heard from College Board whatsoever. So I have no idea. You are correct. You can write the DBQs out and you can send pictures in. I personally would not do that unless you're really good at handwriting. But the issue is as well is how much time do you have to upload the pictures? So that's part of the concern I would have with the pictures is, are they going to give you 1 minute to upload your pictures as soon as the 45 minutes are up? Are they going to give you 30? We just have no idea. And yes, College Board is definitely ghosting a whole bunch of people, including teachers. It's not looking too good for College Board right now, so we will end up seeing. You cannot mail your DBQ in whatsoever. That would be unfair. So you would be given like 5 minutes or something like that, and then that's how you have to upload it. So let's see. I think I answered all the questions. Yeah, I do think that you should definitely try to figure out where you're going to get your reliable internet because nobody's allowed to enter the school buildings without permission until August. So you won't have any access to the internet there as well. Okay, now let's go over the DBQ. I think I've covered all the questions. So again, we have 17 minutes, and if you need to hop out early, that's totally okay, I understand. But let's talk about the DBQ really quickly so you understand what happened when I graded it. So this was our first DBQ on the new rubric, and it was very odd to grade on the new rubric because I kept forgetting I was grading on the new rubric. And our cut scores are really weird too. So let me explain what a cut score is. So when we take the AP exam in May, you get the scores traditionally out of 7, but now it'll be out of 10. Once they see how everybody did, they give what's called a cut score. And a cut score is how they determine who gets a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 on the AP exam. So last year, the average on the DBQ was a 2.8, which means that a 3 on the AP exam would be approximately a 3 in terms of your final score. That's what a cut score is. The problem is nobody's ever seen this rubric before, so none of us have any idea what it could possibly be. So let me explain the cut scores really quickly of how I gave you guys some grades. So 1 to 3, I'm going to go ahead and assume that would be a 1 on the AP exam, which is why I gave it a 60%. 4 to 5, I would say is about a 2. The average student was a 6.7. So most of you who got your scores back was a 6.7. So I'm going to assume that that's going to be the 3 on the AP exam. An 8 I'm going to count as a 4, and a 9, 10 is going to be a 5. This is just a guess. It could be completely different. They could say everything above a 3 is a passing score. I just noticed that the average student received a 6.7. So I'm going to go that off of my 3 on the AP exam. And if you got less, it's usually just because there's a couple of things that needs to be. Jack, you probably missed my explanation of 2A not being graded yet. So anyways, so again, 3B and 4B are all graded. 1B, 75% are graded. And I left 2A because 2A is always the first one to get graded. So I wanted to make sure they were the last one this time to be fair to everybody. A 6.7 could be a 4. We have no idea. But I want you to improve the things that you got as a 6.7, which is why I'm going to have it as a 75%. Okay. And yes, Skyline's better than average, but you know, it is what it is. Okay. So anyway, so let's go over really quickly of things to improve. So this is what your DBQ will end up looking like. So as a quick reminder, over on the far right, these are all of my comments. If you notice, I was very elaborative in my comments. So thesis, if I have anything under thesis, it's because there was something wrong. Contextualization. ID, remember all of these numbers are each document that you ended up getting. I obviously just barely realized I messed up a number here, but that's fine. And then if you have anything under missed, then I will usually explain why, or I've already explained it there or over here where the text documents are. Outside evidence, oops, is the same way. And then HIP analysis, things like that. Just remember to look on the far right to understand fully. And then if you want, I also gave the rubric so you can see how much out of 10 and you know which points you got and which ones you didn't. Okay, so we're going to go over really quickly some common mistakes about the DBQ, and then we'll go ahead and finish. I think we have enough time to be able to do that. So in terms of historical context, excuse me, some common issues that I saw on the DBQ. So if you notice, one of the common things I saw was topics in your contextualization that had nothing to do with the actual topic. So if you notice, this person did the second wave of immigration, which I would first off notice, it says prior to 1865. The second wave of immigration actually begins in 1890. So that's just an inaccuracy. But even if it wasn't an inaccuracy, they talk about immigration, but then it never actually connects to their essay topic. So make sure your HC always connects to your essay topic in some way. And again, if you have any questions about this, please let me know so that I can be able to answer them. So this is one example that would be a good example. So this is by Grace Marsh. So if you notice on this one, you have the contextualization. She did prior to 1865, Japan was closed to trade. She goes into Matthew Perry and the gunboat diplomacy. And then her connection shows the opening of Japan fueled Manifest Destiny and led to America wanting to expand their marketplace to other foreign areas. And then she starts into her thesis. So make sure that whatever topic you talk about, that it is prior to 1865, it's specific, it relates to the topic, and make sure you have a good connecting sentence to your thesis. Anybody have any questions about contextualization? Okay, so thesis was a really badly missed one. I would say only about 30%, but it's because almost everybody who missed it did the exact same mistake. So this is one of the theses that I saw. So if you notice, make sure you're always using language of the question. So using many different methods, the United States expanded their role in the world in the period of 1865 to 1840, applying tactics that can be referred to, and then they go in from there. Make sure that you're always using language of the question. This is a causation essay talking about the causes. Can you find the comments and notes on Turn It In? Yes. And Apitha, I believe I did yours right before I started this, so you should be able to see this. So anyways, so if you notice, make sure you're using language of the question, because they're talking about applying tactics. That's not actually the question that's being asked. So always use language of the question. And in general, one other thing I like to comment about, like topics in general. So if you notice, cultural neediness, power gain, and playing nice, those are not very academically sound topics. So also make sure that you're picking topic headers and categories that are academically sound. The number one reason, though, why people did not get their thesis point is way too long of a thesis. So this thesis is 1, 2, 3 sentences, and it's really 4 because this is a mega long sentence at the end. All theses should be 1 to 2 sentences at absolute maximum. A lot of people did where every cause was its own sentence. So if you notice, the second most important cause would be the need for, and then they just kept going on and on and on. There were some essays that I read that actually had 8 to 9 sentences for their thesis. Remember, theses are only supposed to be 1 to 2 sentences long. So a good thesis, so this is Ilma's thesis, would be something that is concise and gives the in particular topics. So although the United States sought to expand its role in the world due to notions with their relative importance, so relative importance ranked in descending order from 1, gaining territory, 2, increased competition and militarism, and 3, social Darwinism, and then they go into their effects. Many people were against this movement and considered it morally wrong, such as the Anti-Imperialist League. So just make sure that you're being specific. It's 1 to 2 sentences, absolutely maximum, and you're not expanding. Anybody have any questions? I would say the number one reason is because people did 3 to 4 sentence long thesis statements. Okay, cool. All right. So a good opening paragraph. So this is Finn's opening paragraph. So this would be something that perfectly connects the HC and then going into your thesis statement. So hold on. So the score for Turn It In is out of 5. So it's not out of 5, it's out of 10. So just let you know, the AP score on Turn It In is out of 10, not 5. So if you look on, I put the cut scores on Canvas as well so you can see it. So that would be a 5 out of 10. So that would be a 5 out of 10. What periods are graded? 3B, 4B, and half of 1B. The rest will be finished today. After the announcement yesterday, I just needed to take a break from school. So I'll finish them as soon as I can. Okay? All right, so this would be a good opening paragraph. So if you notice, going into contextualization. So prior to 1865, the United States forced Japan to open their trade. He talks about going into all of the different things about gunboat diplomacy. The connection, this would be the first of many world affairs, and the United States would become involved in the years to come. The relative importance of different causes for the expanding role starts with social Darwinism, gaining military, and expansion of trade, and some effects would be, and then it goes into there. Okay, so this would be a successful opening paragraph. Anybody have any questions about those? Okay, great. So talking about the documents, common things that I saw. So this, for example, is showing, so this was somebody's statement, and if you notice, how short is this? So when you're looking at a document, you don't want to just do a single sentence. So the idea of territory acquisition can be seen in the Boston Globe, which states that America is using its war in favor. So this would not even count as an ID because you didn't even expand on it, you just threw it in there. So everything really should be about 3 to 4 sentences long per document. This would be considered far too short and would not end up getting the point. Additionally, a lot of people have kind of been broadly talking about things, but not something that talks about the document. So if you notice in this one, they talk about how there were many political disputes with other nations in the East, and then they just throw in there document 5, but then they never really talk about political disputes. They don't really talk about the document as much. They kind of just say what's in the document, but it doesn't support their claim that it had many political disputes. So make sure that you're using your documents and actually applying it to your argument that you are attempting to make in your essay. So this was another example of kind of just talking broadly, but not about the document. So if you notice that this person was talking about assimilation, and then they talk about going into new territories and that people were changed to fit the American way of life, make sure you're using topics. So say, for example, you talk about the Philippine Islands, expand it just a little bit more. So this one would be good for an ID point, but a little bit more expansion is needed to really talk about the impact of assimilation on the Philippine Islands. So this is Tracy's example of one that would be good. Doc 3 was easily the most missed out of all the documents. A lot of people just incorrectly analyzed Doc 3. So if you notice in Tracy's example, she goes into talking about the Navy. She talks about the impact of a stronger Navy as becoming a world power. This led them to become a prominent world power and forced them to become more involved. And then she also has a really good outside evidence. So outside evidence was highly missed. If you notice, she says an example of their expanding Navy was the Great White Fleet. This was a large fleet of battleships that were painted white. And this is outside of the document, which would count. Does it have to be in the same period? Yes. All outside evidence must be in the time period. That was also a really common thing. We had a bunch of people say another piece of outside evidence is World War I. That's outside of the time period. It could be an effect, but it does need, everything needs to be in the time period. Eugenics is not in the time period. So eugenics is in the 1920s. And additionally, I don't know how it applies to this topic. So another thing is a lot of people did outside evidence that didn't apply to the topic. So I had some people that were talking about James K. Polk as their outside evidence pieces. That's way too out of the time period. A lot of people did Great Depression. Everything has to connect to your topic. You can't just talk about random topics that would be in there. This is an example of outside evidence that, again, needs to, how far out of the time period? If it were me, I would put all my effects in the time period. Everybody that had their effects outside of the time period pretty much did not get the point whatsoever. Miles, I don't think I've read yours yet, so I can't tell you whether or not you got the point or not. But I would always, for the most part, keep your effects in the time period. I don't think I gave points to anybody for their effects if they were all out of the time period, because people were going into like World War II, Vietnam. I saw people were going into the American Revolution and American colonization. It was very, very odd. I would take all of your outside evidence and keep it in the time period, and your effects should really be within 5-10 years, nothing really more. Because if not, things that happen today. And again, if you have to leave for psych, I apologize. We're almost done though. So anyways, on this one with outside evidence, you can see that they throw in the Turner thesis, but again, what is its meaning? Is it an example of a cause? Is it an example of an effect? You can't just throw a term in there. Make sure that you explain it well enough. Another thing is you can't just mention a topic. So if you notice, it says big stick diplomacy right here, and it's only a single sentence long. Make sure it's between 2 to 3 sentences long to be able to get the point on that. Another thing is, too, on outside evidence, you can't get both the point for explaining the document and outside evidence. So while this person does a good job talking about America getting more territories, half of their explain is outside evidence, so I can only count it for one or the other. I can't count it for both. Also, if your entire effects were considered outside evidence, you can't double dip, so you can either get an outside evidence point or you can get the complexity point. You can't get both. There's a lot of good effects. Let me talk about that when I get to complexity, if you give me just a second. So this would be a good example. So this is Annika Dean's example. So if you notice, she goes into, so she talks about social Darwinism, and then she says, for example, because social Darwinism, they went and took over the Hawaiian Islands, and then she goes into that as well. So this would be an excellent example of what a perfect paragraph would be, of explaining the document very, very well, and then talking about social Darwinism and why we took over the Hawaiian Islands. That'd be really good. HIP analysis, overall, there's a lot of people that kind of weren't really talking about the document. So if you notice in this person, they start okay. So the purpose of the document is to inform the reader about their relationship with China. But then they go into, the document does a great job organizing all of the ideas and explaining them. This allows them to understand material in a condensed amount of writing. So if you notice, that's not really a HIP analysis. If they had expanded on the first sentence, they might be able to get the point, but none of this other stuff is HIP analysis whatsoever. If you notice on this one, again, minimum of 2 sentences long. So prior to the publication, you had to have it 2 sentences. And then also, this isn't just a good argument. We had a smaller navy before. You would have to expand on that to be able to get the good HIP analysis point. This one is another example of not really a HIP. So the purpose of this document was to caution that the U.S. was not ready to go with war with Spain. If you're saying, I have no idea what document that is, that's because I don't either have any idea what document this is. I should be able to tell by your HIP analysis what document you're referring to automatically. If only one of your 2 effects work, do you not get? No. You have to, it's all or nothing. So because that's why it's called the unicorn point. It's really hard to be able to get. So this would be a good example. So this is Joy's example. So if you notice, she says, the point of view of this document is the U.S. need to expand its naval power. You can tell it's document 3. They believe that this is the reason. Now, they went really long into this, but it still works really well, and you can condense it into 2 sentences to be able to get the point. How should we contact you to ask questions? You can message me, you can email me, you can Canvas message me, or you can sign up for a time that we can go over your DBQ individually. So that would be the easiest way. Complexity argument is, so this is going into the effects. So a lot of people did anti-imperialism as one of their effects, is people going against imperialism. We had a lot of people talk about the acquisition of other territories, such as Hawaii and Alaska. We had a lot of people that said that some of their effects were America big. I'm trying to think of some of them now that I'm being put on the spot. There was a lot of people that just did overall general acquisition of the Philippines, expanding their economy as a worldwide power. What if I use assimilation as an effect? You can use it as an effect, but one thing really quickly that I would point out, a lot of people put a bunch of docs in their effects. I would have almost all the documents except 1 at max in your causes, because that's the actual argument that you are attempting to make. But assimilation would work as an effect down here. Although a lot of people started to go into Native Americans, but that is not the topic of this essay. And then I think that is it. Okay, yes, so that is it. So overall about the DBQ, so just as a quick reminder, especially because I know several of you guys have to go possibly, if you do have individual issues, you can always talk to me and I can go over your essay. Last DBQ, we had a bunch of people that we just Zoomed and we went over their entire essay together. So if you would like to do that, I need to update the schedules if you want to sign up for meeting with me, because I have a bunch of meetings over the next couple of days. But just even if you just texted me and said, hey, when can we meet? We can figure out a way to be able to meet. Or you can just send me an email with some questions or a remind message and I'll try to explain it to you. Okay? All right. So let me, if I'm going to answer that question in just a second, David. Let me stop sharing this really quickly. Okay, so for the last little bit, if you're still here, I wanted to kind of be open if you guys had questions about the school closure right now, how things are going to work, what does it mean, different things like that. That's what I wanted to be able to have this. So somebody said, what are we going to do with our textbooks? In theory, we are not allowed to come back to the school organizationally until August. So I would assume that they will be extending, and I don't know if this is yes or not, but my assumption would be that they would extend all due dates into next year, and then you would return them at the end of the year. And then I would assume the priority would be to get textbooks from seniors. What I can tell you is, oh, I hope that you didn't leave food in your locker. That would be so bad. But what I can tell you is that they are also thinking that I did hear, and this is not at the school district level, this is at the state, they were suggesting that people would possibly be doing summer schools. And so because of that, there would be an opportunity that you might need your textbook through the summer. So don't sell your textbooks, because I'm letting you know right now, interesting fact. So the textbook price that you have to pay if you lose a textbook is about 5 times more than the actual cost of the textbook. And the reason why is because that's how much Skyline buys it for, but you can sell them used on Amazon for so much cheaper. And then what I'm trying to explain to you, though, is that if you sell your book, you're probably still going to have to pay the gap between those. So that's a bad idea. I would not do that. If your books are in your locker, I don't know what they're going to do with lockers. Again, everything is very open right now, and we just don't know a lot of different things. Actually, technically, it's not public property. What I would tell you is it's actually educational property, and it is a misdemeanor to sell school property. So I just want to point that out, just let you know. But I would tell you that I'm going to assume that they are more than likely going to have a schedule when you can come and you can pick up your stuff from your locker. Right now, you can go to the school between 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. with an appointment. So if you call the school, they could set up a time if you need to be able to do that, that you would be able to attend, would be my assumption. There was a question earlier that somebody had asked, and I'm just kind of going back through here. Somebody said that you have a drive-through. That's really cool. The issue right now is that nobody was going to Skyline when they had open hours. So originally Skyline was open from like 6 a.m. till 6 p.m. and they've been having less than 10 people come each day. So because of that, they've lessened it. I don't know what they would do, because the other issue is, what if you guys are infected and the textbooks are now infected? So I don't know what they're going to do. I would assume they're going to have some plan at some point. Somebody had asked, what do you mean about summer school? So if you guys, I don't know if you guys watched the live stream with me yesterday, but during the live stream, they showed this wavy thing, and the wave has 3 different parts. So we are in part 1 of the wave, and part 1 of the wave is what's called our new norm, which means our new normal of school, which is online schooling for the rest of the year. The second wave is what is called bridging gaps. So what that means is, what if, for example, and I'm not concerned about you guys, but for instance, what happens if you're one of my 10 AP students that has never turned in anything this entire closure? What if you don't know what you need to know for next year? Or what if you've ghosted your math class and you go into math 4 next year and you don't know the ending quarter stuff from math 3? So in theory, what they suggested yesterday is that there would be an allowance for bridging the gap, which means that you would have the opportunity to work in the summer to make that stuff up. But that's at the state saying that. That's not Granite saying that. I think my understanding was it would be optional. The biggest concern is if you fail this quarter. What most districts are doing, and I can't tell, I do know what Granite's going to do. I can't tell you it because it's not public information. But what I can tell you is most school districts are switching to pass-fail for most of their classes, where you either get 60% and you pass, or you don't. I do know Salt Lake City School District is doing either you pass or you get a no grade, which means there's no F on your transcript. You just don't receive a grade for that, and you would make it up over time. And I'm behind on the messages, so I have to up that. Should the word communism be capitalized? It depends on your perception of that. Do you know what is happening? Okay, here we go. So really quickly, somebody asked, do you know what's happening about summer driver's ed? If it were me, I would assume that that is not happening. But I don't know the information of that. And the reason why I don't know the information is because yesterday they said it's closed to the end of the year. The official statement that came out was the intention to come back in August, but there was no clarity of the summer. I know that there were several sports that had asked if possibly they could do sports over the summer. And if you don't know, they canceled all sports yesterday for the remainder of the year. So all spring sports are canceled. So my assumption is that they're going to say no summer driver's ed, but I don't know for sure. I would assume, I do know driver's ed is online though. So I know that they are still doing the online courses, but I don't know how summer driver's ed works. I know they have one online, but I don't know if you have to drive in person. I would assume that that would be no. So no GPA counting. So going into the GPA thing. So again, how it would work, your transcript, you know how it goes A, B, C, F, 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 you know, whatever it is. So instead it would be P's in either an F or what's called an incomplete. And either way, what that means is it would not, so it doesn't benefit your grade, but it does not count against your grade. So if you're a straight A student and you were hoping this quarter would help boost your GPA, it wouldn't do anything to your GPA, both positively and negatively. And colleges are saying normally that would be a concern for colleges. Like if you're going to Harvard, why are you doing all these pass fails? but that is what most schools around the nation are doing, is they're getting rid of ABs. I do know what Granite's is, and I'm not going to tell you what it is until it's announced, because one time I got in trouble for announcing something that was not public information. So I'm going to keep it quiet, and then we will find out. So what if you're planning on doing packets this summer? My understanding is they are still doing packets, and they're still doing the online classes. It's just nothing is in person. I've been doing packets with students because I also teach home hospice. And what we were told is I have to show up at their house. I have to drop it off. I can have no physical contact with them, and I cannot see them in person, which is what I would assume it would be. More than likely, they would have pickups for that. I would assume everything in terms of online or packet work for summer is fine. I just don't know about an in-person driver's ed, because I would have concerns about the contact and the close contact in schools. Our teacher is going to be easygoing on grades near the end of the term. And I'm sorry I have 32 missed messages. I'm trying to catch up on these as fast as I can. I would say most teachers are going easy. So for me, and I haven't made this like public information, I haven't been counting late work. So I understand. However, we have had many faculty meetings where teachers have said as well, they do not believe that it is fair for students to not receive negative consequences for their decisions, such as not working as hard or not turning stuff in. That's an individual teacher thing. I'm not as concerned about my class, because once everything goes in, usually fourth quarter, 90% of my students finish with an A. So I'm not really concerned about my class. But I will tell you that the vast majority of teachers did support a pass-fail system. The only thing that was the concern is, what if you want to pad your GPA? So if you do get an A, what if you wanted to change it to that? I know the answer to that, but I'm going to keep that quiet until I hear public information, which they said should come up over the next couple of days. So hopefully we can talk about it on Friday. Is there a chance that we close in the beginning weeks of next year? Yes. California has said that they announced the other day that they don't think there will be any large gatherings through October. That's what California said. There is a chance. I think it's a smaller chance. I think we will come back in August, if I were to guess. But that's my opinion. Do you know what is happening with fall sports that start practices during the summer? I'm going to guess as of right now that I do know that there is no practices through the end of the school year. And that is by district, so that would be May 22nd. And I would guess there will also be no practices for fall sports. I do know that the only thing that the USAA has said is that all spring sports are canceled. And that is nationwide. That is not state of Utah wide. That is nationwide. So I know some of you were concerned about scholarships. I heard, what do I do about my track scholarship or whatever? Those colleges understand, but that is canceled nationwide for all spring sports. They won't have those. So if it were, I would assume that there will be no sports whatsoever until July or August. What does that mean for fall sports? Probably just no preseason. I would assume it would just be tryouts, and then you start. That would be my assumption. Although I think I heard cheer tryouts are still doing stuff for cheer, but I'm not 100% sure. I just saw an email about it. I didn't really read about it. I heard could remain until a vaccine is approved. Yeah, California, part of the reason that California said October is because they said that they would like to not have large gatherings until there's a vaccine. The average vaccine takes 18 months to create. So I think at this point, every single state is completely different. So it just all depends. Harvard, I don't know specifically what Harvard is doing, but I do know that college admissions are being very open with what's going on. Again, I was able to apply for grad school with like half the requirements. So it all depends on what the colleges, but the colleges, you have to realize, will understand what's going on. Because some states, so my brother's in Idaho, they ended at Q3 and they're done for the rest of the year. So up in Idaho, they can improve their previous quarter grades, but they cannot learn anything new for the rest of the year. You teach Emma on Thursdays. I don't know. Oh, yes. I was confused for a second. You are correct. I do teach Emma on Thursdays. Do you know around, oh, that reminds me, I need to switch that. Do you know around when it'll be announced? We were told that they were going to announce statewide the closure next week, but then they announced it yesterday. And Granite came out with an email that said that they would email everybody in the next few days. So I would assume by Friday we will have a better idea. Textbooks, I did this. Not gonna talk about that. Let's see. Somebody keeps mentioning late work. I've been accepting the late work as it comes, but that doesn't mean to go ahead and start doing late work. That's just silly. I'm just giving options for different students. There's possibility of students being negatively affected by tech issues. I agree. They're trying to address that right now. And you can always come and pick up packets. I do know that it is taking people a lot longer to complete assignments. I totally understand. We're trying to adjust as much as we could. Somebody said, what about birthdays? Yeah, I was going to have a Zoom party, but we just haven't gotten to that yet. Recruiting is online. You are correct. So somebody did mention about college sports. There is a nationwide stop to all recruiting in terms of in-person. They can only recruit online. So just know that there are definitely people who are still recruiting. I had a student tell me last week that they have already been talking to somebody and their spring sport was canceled. So, are we going to go to school like normally this year? That's what I said. I think so. I think we'll come back to school in August, but who knows? It depends on what happens with this virus. I was just seeing that they said that they think that all professional sports will be done for the rest of the summer. So, and they might play like in stadiums with no fans by themselves. So we just have no idea. You could Google and answer every single one of you. So somebody's saying the curve is flattened, somebody's saying it's not. There's so many different people that you can ask, and they will all give you a completely different opinion on the exact same issue. Let's see. Somebody brought up, so I'm not going to go into the politics of this stuff. Hold on. Doing homework and gaming in the same place. I will say it is really hard to be doing work. It is really hard for me as well. I get distracted extremely easily right now. So I totally understand what you guys are talking about. I get distracted very easily. I've watched all the High School Musicals in the last 12 hours, and I was very distracted doing that. So I totally get what you guys are saying. Are we going to get yearbooks? Yearbook, I was told, is still doing yearbook stuff right now. I would assume more than likely, though, that we will be getting yearbooks at the end of the school year. Or not the school year, into next year. So I would assume that we will most likely get yearbooks next August when we come back. But I do know that they are still working on the yearbooks, but it just doesn't make sense to have a massive thing. I'm surprised nobody has asked about graduation. That's normally the very first thing that I end up hearing. But anyways, I can tell you that in terms of the length of time you guys are taking to be able to do your stuff, I did see that they're saying that the average Utah student is taking 11 hours per day for school. That's what I'm hearing. Are we graduating Minecraft? No, but I did hear we're going to have a digital ceremony. So, but there is a school district in Texas that said that they will still be putting it on no matter what coronavirus does in Texas. So, yeah. So, oh, you have the same glass? Cool. I'm pretty sure it's from Walmart or Bed Bath & Beyond. I don't know. I got it for my wedding. Texas is really interesting because I did see that. Is there a chance they'll postpone graduation? I'll be honest with you. I don't know. I do know that they did bring up graduation, and in particular, specifically, the state superintendent said that they encourage districts to be creative with graduation, and to hopefully have more creative ways. I don't know if you have seen the cool ways that different ones are doing graduation. It's been really cool to see. I do know that somebody did mention a drive-in movie. A lot of school districts have been doing that, where they're putting up a giant screen, and then you can see like the pictures of them, and they drive by in their cars, and everybody cheers and stuff like that. I'll be 100% honest with you. It's Granite School District, guys. Like, I mean, if you guys, I did hear that the state superintendent did say that they encourage students to suggest ideas to the school districts and to their schools regarding graduation and regarding helping the seniors out, or for example, senior nights for athletics. They did encourage students to suggest ideas and suggest different things that you could be able to do. I do know somebody did ask about caps and gowns. Jostens did say that they were going to still process those. The only problem is that our gowns are used. You rent them every year, and you give them back because ours are specialty gowns. And so my assumption is they aren't going to give those because you don't get your own gown. And I think the concern would be, what if you're infected and you infect everybody because of your gown? I don't know. But I will say that if it were, I'm going to guess it's going to be a virtual ceremony, if I were to guess. But I do like what the U is doing, because what the U is doing is they are going to have a virtual ceremony. They are going to, in August, they are going to have an in-person ceremony in December, and they are going to have a specialty ceremony next April just for the people who were supposed to be from this year. And Mary is a senior. She's one of our 2 seniors in the class. So yeah, I do truly feel bad for the seniors. We'll figure something out, hopefully to be able to make it a little bit more special. Tracy, are you sure? Oh, I was like, I don't think you're a senior. But what I can tell you is that if this is going to affect anybody, I would say it probably affects the seniors. But I will tell you that you are going to be part of an iconic group of students who will be able to take this and for the rest of their lives use this forever as the time that it was rough. If anything, too, I also feel really bad for the spring sports students. I think that the spring sports students are the roughest. Although, Miles, I will say I do disagree with you about the viral pandemic. We've actually had several viral pandemics. But anyways, I digress. What I will tell you, though, is HIV. Anyways, but I will. Okay, we're going to a lot of things. But Zika is actually, Zika's not viral because it's from an animal. Mad cow disease is also from an animal. HIV has not been considered a viral because it is not a virus in terms of what they consider a pandemic. But we actually had what's called the avian bird flu in the 1950s. And Miles, what I'm talking about in particular is, anyways, I'm not going to go into it. It's fine. We're talking about this. So anyways, any other questions? Lecture schedule for Friday. 12:15 is again 12:15 on Friday, and we're going to go over review stuff. That's what is on Friday. Has this overwhelming feeling of impending doom always been there, or is it just the past few years? I would say it's the past month, because in fact we had another earthquake yesterday. And, well, I will say Disneyland didn't close down during World War II because there was no Disneyland. Had Disneyland been open during World War II, it definitely would have probably closed down. We did have an earthquake yesterday. We had a earthquake, a 4.2 aftershock yesterday. So, but anyways, I would say that the last month has been really intense. It was like at, I don't know, maybe 9:30 last night-ish, something like that.
It was at 9.
9 o'clock, yeah. So, but they did say it officially was an aftershock and it was not considered an earthquake. But I would say the last month has been really weird. We're coming up on, we just barely had our 1 month anniversary of being gone. So it's just a really weird feeling, I think, for everybody. But anyways, does anybody have any other questions or any wondering about what's going on with the school? There are a lot of people that do believe the world is ending. There is actually a new word that was just submitted to Webster Dictionary. It's called doom scrolling, which is where you become super obsessed with reading through all the stuff about coronavirus, and you like purposely look through it, and it's called doom scrolling. That was submitted to Webster, so apparently that might be the word of the day. I don't know. They are doing on ESPN the other day. They had a marathon of all the spelling bees, so maybe that'll be on a spelling bee in a couple of years. I'm not sure. Anyways, any other questions before I can let you guys go, or anything? It might be more clear once we get direction from the district. Okay, cool. So I'll go ahead and say that we're good.